Welcome back inside the Waco Center for today's edition of Inside Pioneer Athletics. I'm your host, Jagger Furr, with Athletic Director Jesse Skiles. Coach, thanks for being here.
Yeah, appreciate it, Jagger. Great to be here.
Before we start, today's episode is sponsored by Mini Hamilton Health Systems and Chantel. Coach, first starting off, I know with your coaching career, you're big into championships, and the first one we had this year was men's and women's golf. I know the men probably didn't place the way that they wanted, but on the women's side, a huge comeback there at the end to capture their second consecutive Mountain East Conference championship. Just your thoughts on all that.
That was a tremendous, three rounds up there at Avalon Lakes up in Warren, Ohio. You're right. The men, they end up finishing fifth, and D&E ended up winning. That was a team that we had beaten, several times during the year. But with that being said, they're still ranked, getting votes. Still getting votes. To where they can still maybe with their body of work, have a good spring and still get into the national tournament. The women punched their ticket, and phenomenal comeback. I mean, they had played real inconsistent, and Coach McGarry was, thinking, we got to pull it back between the tracks here, and that back nine of the third round. It wasn't that they were, going birdie. I mean, they were hitting fairways, hitting greens, making putts, and getting a lot of pars down the stretch. And Charleston, bogey here, bogey there. Next, we went from 12 down to end up winning it by 2, and then Lexus Fickle winning the MVP in a playoff. It was very dramatic, and like I said, a lot of people seen the pictures, a lot of people with it, but the size of the crowd that was here when them fire trucks came back into town that night, and when people were waiting on them, just the music and the party that was going on out here, and the way they were mobbed when they got all the vans, it was something special that we have in Glenville with the celebration of championships. Now, we had one last spring when women's basketball clinched here, and it was at home, but the fire trucks did a couple laps around the loop, and the party was here, and it was very exciting. So the golf was some great memories from this fall back-to-back championships for the women.
Now moving forward to another championship, cross country this weekend. The one name that we've all talked about, Natalie Barr on the women's side, has just been tremendous, broken several records. Samantha Dawson has moved into the top 5, as well as some all-time lists. What are your thoughts on this weekend's races?
Well, it could be historic. I mean, Coach Dan was trying to look back, like how many years it's been since we've had someone get on that podium. We're talking going back close to 3 decades probably. And she is, she depends on how the prognosticators might look at it. You look with Tiefers because you run different courses, but we certainly feel like she could be in the top 15. When she was primarily a track runner coming out of high school, 2-time state champ in the 8, Natalie Barr. And, we're hopeful she can have a solid run up there. It's a very challenging course at Ogleby. Sam, hopefully she can get in a good spot. And right behind her, they had a good pack of ladies, in these last couple meets. I'm thinking that we could, be able to beat some teams if they run with that pack and Natalie puts up a low number. The men, we're hoping to be able to beat some teams, on that end. I know they've had some adversity, and but they've had some kids that have really improved, and put up some PRs, and hopefully they can come out and have a good run up there as well.
Switching to the other fall sports, football, had that really good start with that win over Notre Dame. And then, lost 3 in a row. I feel like they kind of got back on track with the win last week at homecoming against Wheeling. Have another home game this Saturday, and they finish out the year, 2 road games, another home game. Thoughts, reactions on the season so far this year?
That was a tremendous second half with Wheeling and much needed. I feel like, they made plays. Defense shut them down in the second half. I think the key was when it was 6-3, and we had that defensive stand held them to a field goal when they were at the 1.
The muff punt, yeah.
Yeah, and to keep it at 6-6. But I thought, even though they lost to West Lib, they had the big comeback in the second half. So they've done very well in the second half of several games here, and hoping they can carry that on here against Concord. pretty to get back above 500 before we make the trip down to Pembroke would be big. And I know Coach Keller and his staff is working the matchups because this league is so closely matched.
Oh, yeah.
There's not a whole lot of difference between, teams 2 and 3 and teams 9 and 10. So hopefully we'll have a good weekend here with Concord.
Women's soccer, one win away from breaking the school record for most wins in a single season. 3 ties so far this year. They're 4-6-3 at the time of the recording this video. Another home game tonight with State. They finished out their 3-game homestand on Sunday with D&E, 2 teams that they played very closely.
Yeah.
What have you liked so far this year in soccer?
Well, State, that's a team that we outshot down there 16-11 and lost 2-1, and had outshot D&E and tied them 1-1. So I think Coach Dotson and his staff feel like there's a couple of, I'm going to say checks to be written tonight that they feel like that hopefully they can play as well and a few more shots go in the net in these next 2 matches. But yeah, 4 wins, three ties after no wins last year has been a big step forward, and they're in a position to make the playoffs and be the 4th team out of the South. Now we still got to stay ahead of Wesleyan and D&E, and if we did, we'd earn the right to go up and play Frostburg, who's number 1 team in the North. And we lost to them 2-0 here, but played them pretty tough.
Tied at the half at 0-0.
Yeah, played them pretty tough. So if we can get in that playoff spot, I think it could, we could go up there and play a very competitive playoff game when we get to that point. But there's a lot of work to be done over these last 5 matches. Merle Smith's with 10 goals, all-time leader.
Been phenomenal all year.
Oh, phenomenal and great player all around. Ball handler, passer. Aitana Veo, she's got 4 goals and several assists. True freshman. From Spain, and then with Abigail, in goal, she's been solid, been a nice addition as a true freshman. So there's a lot of good, and the program's definitely moving in a positive direction.
Moving over to women's volleyball, you hired Kiara Perkins, like we talked about in the last show, first-year head coach. I know she's dealt with some adversity. I know early in the year, she never really had her full roster that she wanted, dealing with injuries. What have you seen, and what are your thoughts so far on the year with
I think she's done a tremendous job. And the credit to the ladies that stayed with us through the coaching search. We ended up just getting her 3 weeks before we're starting practice, and it was July, and to have her in to do what she's doing, they are still in the playoff picture right now.
100%.
Yeah, they're 4th in the South. They got a little less margin for error than soccer does. But they got West Libben here Friday and Wheeling on Saturday. Of course, Wheeling, perennial national power. But if we could steal a game from the North, and we still got Wesleyan here and D&E there when we go back into division play at the end, and if we could do well in those contests, we could secure another playoff spot, which would be tremendous. Like you said, considering she didn't get a recruit, she was able to pull a few folks late when she got the job. But this was really her first full year of recruiting and trying to, work the roster from that end. And a credit to how hard, because we've had some injuries, and those ladies battle, and I think that Friday night with Charleston here. One of the top teams, and we battled them and won 1 set, had them at set point in another. It could have been tremendous, but and I'm just, plus she's been good for us in the department running our psych program and working as a liaison on the mental health side, with our campus counseling center. So just really, really proud of what she's doing.
Now, in October, we're nearing the start basketball and wrestling. Wrestling brings back a national champion. I know they're excited to get started. We have the Glenville Invite November 4th here in a few Saturdays from now. What are you excited to see with wrestling this year?
Very excited with that group. Old GQ, Gavin Kiocho with 133. Coach Cottrell's added some nice pieces. I know they were 9th in the country, and we really think they could potentially be a top 5 team in the country going into it this year. And she, Gavin now he's got the target on him going into
Oh,
this.
100%.
And but there were five wrestlers that went to nationals. So I think that's how you get it. If we can get a few more to nationals, and because you get the consolation points is everything really to move up as a team. And but cannot wait. A lot of buzz about this wrestling program going into the year.
I mean, rightfully so. I mean, he's definitely built the program up very well. Switching over to basketball, and we talked about it briefly in the last show, but 2 new head coaches, Emily Stoller on the women's side, Bob Bowler on the men's side. But sticking with the women's side, Emily played here, was a phenomenal player. She was able to keep, some of the players. Also added some pretty nice transfers. I mean, what are you looking forward to see this year?
Yeah, I mean, she's retained that system of Coach Stevens, which is really predicated on the press and utilizing a lot of players, and she's got some shooters and got added a couple of nice rebounders in the group that we feel like can help in that area. It's tough opening schedule. I mean, going up to Gannon, who's a perennial NCAA tournament team, playing in their tournament, and then Charleston and State opening up league play. So 3 of those first 4 games are going to be.
It's never easy.
It's never easy, but I think it's going to be a real quick litmus test on where they are, and she's excited for the challenge.
And on the men's side, Bob, I mean, I know you quizzed me about it the other day. One of the returning MEC all first team players.
Turbo, yeah.
Brings back Turbo Smith, brings back Jalen Johnson, added some transfers. I mean, what are you excited to see there as well?
Oh, tremendous backcourt, and then of course you got Jalen on the wing, and he's been playing well, and they've couldn't about the backcourt. Had Dom Penn as well. We got Jalen Scott back. There's a lot of good with what he's doing there. Again, he has a national championship on his resume, 4 other national championship games, and he's a competitor. He's a competitor, and it'll be his first time. The scrimmage this week will be his first time back as a head coach, in over a decade. So I think he'll be in rare form. I promised him that table's going to be rocking and rolling, and we're going to be in a good headspace there. I'm excited. I think it's going to be a fun winter, and just with him and Coach Bowl and Coach Stoller, they've been great to work with.
100%.
Great to work with. Just the way they've worked with the other coaches, it's been very good.
Lastly, indoor track starting up soon. I know competitive season last year. Always indoor track is always a good way to get especially ready for the outdoor season. But I mean, you're a big track guy.
Mm-hmm.
What are you looking forward to seeing there?
Well, the big thing back when I coached, they didn't have an indoor championship. Now it's on the championship docket.
Changed,
it's been since 2019 in the Mountain East. And you're right, they had some good performances last year. The folks, a couple of the Big Point folks are gone, but we've got. I think the throwing program is going to be tremendous, and from a point standpoint, hiring Coach Isaac Johnson in here, who's a former hammer throw champion in the league and is on our faculty here, and with Aaron Kuffner here out of Parkersburg in the 400 hurdles, was conference champ last year. I think there's a lot of good to be had, and we mentioned Natalie Barton Cross. What she's going to do on the track in the 8, and we certainly feel like in the mile indoor and 15 outdoor that she's going to be tremendous in those areas. But there's I think there's going to be some points coming from different areas this winter. And I also want to mention the boxing. We had the Warren and Waco schedule back here for October 8th. It was, yeah, and it's been moved to the winter in January, and Coach Chapman is, it worked out really well. I think it could, in terms of, I don't want to speak for him, he said it could really help in terms of their matchups and getting more of our fighters matched up and from the various places. So I'm kind of excited to do that midwinter because, we've had some great wars in the Waco in the fall, but, a lot of times you feel like a lot of people are watching college football on a Saturday night in the 100%. Fall. And I feel like, having that in the dead of winter here, I think it'll be very exciting.
Well, Coach, appreciate you coming on the show again today. It's been great having you.
Right. Appreciate
it. Next time, catch us here in a couple weeks for episode 3 of Inside Pioneer Athletics with Athletic Director Jesse Skiles.